Hey Earth, this is Tom Jacobs. I'm on the web at tdjacobs.com, and I'm an evolutionary astrologer, energy worker, a channel, and also a psychic medium. And this is a video about astrology stuff, about evolutionary astrology. And this is kind of building on the video I did a few weeks ago about what it's like to study astrology with me. I'm gearing up for Evolutionary Astrology Intermediate 1, which anybody who's worked on the home study courses EA Fundamentals 1 and 2 from me is eligible to join. There's still time to join that. It starts on March 23rd, March 23rd. And anyway, at the home study courses, you're introduced to the model of soul and the four-step process, which I'm going to walk you through today, creating four sentence paragraphs and then building on it. I'm going to walk you through different phases of that so you can get a sense of what astrology with me is like. And then intermediate 1, we get into adding a lot more aspects, and we add in retrogrades. We go to the deeper meaning of Pluto and the nodes and the south node ruler by sign. So anyway, so I want to do this video to point out the layers of analysis that we progress through in my astrology when you study astrology, evolutionary astrology with me. Because when I teach astrology, it's not on houses, signs, and planets. It's not the basics of astrology. It's I expect you to figure that stuff out. Go learn that with amazing people all over the world who can teach you that stuff. And then come to me if you want to learn how to understand karma and change it, how to help people heal emotional issues. That's when you come to me. And so that's really the goal of my kind of Aquarian age style astrology, which is straight from the mind of Hermes, the ascended master Jehudi, Hermes, Thoth, Saint Germain, Merlin, that being. So this four-step story is the following. Step number 1 is Pluto, which tells me about the empowerment journey that the soul sets out for its many humans and millions of lives, including you. Step number 2 is the south node of the moon, which describes soul level family contracts or contracts between souls that create family. And that's a conditioned worldview where you assume the world is like this because in every life when you're born, your root chakra is a blank slate. You're a helpless, clueless, squirming, crying baby. And you're imprinted with a worldview and an idea of what life is by the people in the family who welcome you. Even if you're adopted or raised by other people, these contracts are in place. Then the third step of the story, south node ruler by sign. So like in this case, the south node's in the sign of Libra in this chart this random chart we're gonna look at. So the ruler is Venus. So then I go to where Venus is in the chart to understand this person's role in all these lifetimes. How does this person show up as a unique individual? It's a deep layer of remembered identity that's deeper than sun, moon, and rising. So south node ruler by sign is how this person expects to be treated, what this person believes he or she has to offer, and roles and even work and career that the person may gravitate to. Step number 4, the north node of the moon, what has been left out of the family level education in all these lives. Meaning, in the south node, step number 2, thinking about the contracts and the conditioning that create family, or the contracts that create family and the conditioning that results from that. The opposite is what those souls in the family system in every life, including this one, agreed not to know how to show you healthy models of. So the 4th step is something we're encouraged to learn and integrate into our experience so we become more balanced and well-rounded, not only sticking with the familiarity of the south node, step number 2. So those are the 4 steps. So I'm going to take this random chart. May 12th, 1987. I think you can see it okay. 4:29 a.m. in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I just randomly picked that to make this chart, to make this video. So what I'm going to do is in layers. First, creating a simple 4-step structure. So as I said, number 1, Pluto, the empowerment journey the soul sets out for the human. In this case, here we have Pluto in, let me see if I can do that, Scorpio in the 7th. That it's retrograde and conjunct moon, we're going to leave out for now. But just saying Pluto in the 7th house. This is an empowerment journey about learning what's fair in relationship in Scorpio, involving really intense things and power over power under dynamics. So motivated by Scorpionic stuff, but it's a 7th house Pluto. Okay, that's step number 1. Step number 2, south node of the moon, in the 6th house. This person's born into families where there's an emphasis on themes and has this karmic journey that has a lot to do with work and duty done in a Libran way for Libran reasons to make life better for people, to bring more justice, harmony, balance, creativity to the world. Step number 3, South Node ruler by sign. Again, South Node's in Libra. So the ruler by sign is Venus. So then we go over here to the 1st house in Aries. So this person is born into like a 6th house kind of family and shows up as a 1st house kind of person, operating in an Aries way. So this person shows up to be bold and independent, maybe take risks, maybe seek adrenaline release and bungee jumping and whatever I don't fucking know, whatever. Anyway, so this person shows up to be independent and courageous. Step number 4, the north node of the moon, and we're going to leave out the conjunction to Jupiter, but the north node of the 12th says what this person hasn't learned but needs to learn and integrate is how to have faith in life and go with the flow and trust. In Aries, to have the courage to do so, to have the courage to heal from loss and trust life again. So that is basically this. If this were a real person, this would be a life story. Now, if you just tell someone that 4-step story with this method, they're like, oh my gosh, how do you know me? You know me so well. I haven't even added any kind of detail yet. Okay, so that's pass 1, just 4 steps. Pluto's in the 7th house, done in a scorpionic way. Boop, that's it. South Node's in the 6th house, done in a Libra way. That's it. We just kind of go through that. Then we cycle back and we add in another layer. So I'm going to get rid of these little circles. Now we're going to add in aspects, some aspects, the hard aspects and conjunctions. So here we have step number 1. We're going to add moon to that Pluto story. So this is an empowerment journey about learning about what's fair in relationship through the lens of intensity and power dynamics, right? 7th house Scorpio. Conjunct moon, this journey is integrally wrapped up with emotions and needs and family issues. Okay, they need to be honest with family. They need to be honest about emotions. Okay, so that we add that in there. There are no squares or oppositions to Pluto, so we're going to move on. So then the south node of the moon here, let's see. Yeah, whoops. Whoops, nope. So let's do this. South node of the moon. And it's square Neptune. We're going to forget that Neptune's retrograde, but squares to the nodes say there's an unresolved issue. Other EA or evolutionary astrologers, other EA people will say a skip step or a misstep. That's not part of my system. It's not part of my worldview here. It's not that you haven't done it. It's that you do it, but trip over your shoelaces. So I like to say it's an unresolved issue. You have, maybe you know 4 or 5 key things about this energy or how to live this energy. But what if there are 9, 10, 11, 12 things that anybody would need to know to be healthy and happy living with this energy? So a square of the node says this is a thing that people in my family trip over, because remember the south node indicates family level contracts that have our karma in play, but also how it overlaps with family. And mine and my family, we trip over this. How to do Neptune and the Capricorn of the 9th. So Neptune is a spiritual connector. Neptune is about surrender in the house of belief, in the sign of maturity, responsibility, realism. So an unresolved issue is being realistic about what is worth surrendering to, what beliefs are worth surrendering to. Okay, there's that. And that's the only hard aspect here. The conjunction of Jupiter to the north node, we save for step 4. Okay, so now south node ruler, let's add in some aspects and add a little layer of meaningfulness here. So we go back to this Venus. That it's conjunct the ascendant doesn't mean anything. Let me look here. That it's oh my gosh, is it conjunct? Yeah, it's just a little over 7 degrees from Jupiter. So we're going to include those together here. So this person shows up as a 1st house Aries person in every life, including this one. Conjunct Jupiter in Aries in the 12th. So this person shows up with either a great deal of faith or pessimism or optimism or hope maybe taking great risks in surrendering or taking leaps of faith. Jupiter and Aries in the 12th. So this person's a first house person with this strong 12th house energy added to it. The only hard aspect here is the square of Venus to the midheaven axis. So let me just add in a little lines to make that clear. So square the midheaven axis. And what that means is in every life, this person shows up needing to learn to balance inner life and outer life, or outer life, midheaven, inner life, IC, work and home, career and family, right? This is a very independent signature, and the need to balance home and family, etc., personal, private, inner, outer is extremely important. Okay, so that's step 3. Step number 4, the North Node. Whoops, wrong tool. Go back here. Okay, a little red circle. So the North Node in the 12th house, again, needing to learn how to surrender and have the courage to reclaim faith, and have the courage to heal, and conjunct Jupiter. When a planet is conjunct the North Node, the person has not learned healthy versions of this planet. So risk taking, as I just said, what to put my faith in. You think about that, Neptune in the house of belief square the nodes, and then you have Jupiter itself in the 12th house. What's real? What should I put my faith in? And so this person needs to learn to own Jupiter in new ways, in healthy ways. And when a planet is conjunct the North Node, sometimes a person has one of two extremes or vacillates between them. Quite often people vacillate. One of them is being hell-bent on having that energy. You're not going to stop me. That's one extreme. Another extreme is I never get to have that. I'll, like, but not for me, if you remember that old Gershwin tune. But not for me. Everybody gets to have this, but I don't get to have this. And the other one is vacillating between them because there are many, many lifetimes of memories of when it goes well or not well, or is confusing, or somebody blocks it, or the person doesn't get to have it. In this case, we could think of like, well, sorry, getting ahead of myself. Period. Okay. So now we're going to cycle back and add in the retrogrades and add more meaning. Okay. So we got to get rid of that. We're going to go straight back to Pluto because it is retrograde. So Pluto, Moon, and Scorpio in the 7th. You can see the little R next to the Pluto. It's obscured a little bit by the edge of the moon glyph, but it's there. So, my feelings, my needs, my family relationships, all this stuff. But retrograde says, I don't know what's fair. I don't know when I should ask for my needs. I don't know when I should counsel somebody or be supportive, or when I should ask for help, right? Moon support. I don't know when I should tell the truth, because when I do, weird things happen. I get in trouble. So the Pluto retrograde says, I'm not sure how to do this. I'm learning through trial and error. Do my needs matter? Pluto Moon, Pluto's retrograde. I don't know. So anyway, so that level of meaning with the retrograde says, this part of me maybe on kind of shaky ground. I'm not sure. I'm learning over time to essentially cross off the list what doesn't work through trial and error, a process of elimination. And quite often people spend the first few decades of life with Pluto retrograde not knowing what they're doing. And they're not doing it wrong, but they may feel that way. So whose needs matter? This is something the person's trying to figure out. Okay. And then we want to talk about the retrograde of the Neptune square the nodes, which is this part of the second step of the story. Then we'll double back and get a deeper meaning of all of this stuff, and I'll tell you the story. So Neptune retrograde squares the nodes says in all these lifetimes with this unresolved issue regarding what should I believe in? What should I put my faith in? I don't know. I keep tripping over my shoelaces. I keep doing what looks like the wrong thing. I believe this thing. A year later, I find out I got bamboozled. I got suckered. I got cheated. It's this thing isn't real. In some lives, that could be being part of a cult, or I have a friend who was part of a meditation circle. It evolved and it became a cult. And he was like, wait a minute. And that kind of thing of like what I put my faith in evolved and changed. This is also in Capricorn about responsibility. So this person is learning through, again, through trial and error in many lives, what isn't worth believing in. Okay, so that's the idea of the two retrogrades here in the karmic story. So you can see I'm just adding layers of meaning, layers of information, layers of interpretation. And that is how I teach this karmic astrology with this 4-step scaffolding or 4-step sentence structure. If you go back to the, if you even go back to the beginning of the story and just the 4-step story, Pluto's in the 7th house. It's about relationships done in a scorpionic way, about power issues, control issues. Well, that's a major theme, but it's very shallow, right? And then we add in moon, and then we add in the retrograde status. Oh, okay, great. If there were hard aspects of Pluto, oppositions, quincunxes, squares, there'd be more information, but this chart just happens not to have that. So, okay, so now let's go through and I'll do a deeper interpretation of this whole story. Okay, I started a little bit with in the last round, but now we're going to go a little deeper. So now we're going to start over. Step number 1. Pluto retrograde conjunct moon in Scorpio in the 7th. So this person doesn't know if his or her needs matter or whose needs matter. Because the retrograde thing says, well, maybe I need to ask you for help, but what if you're not available? Does that mean my needs don't matter? What if I bring a problem to you and I need you and you're distracted by your own issues and you can't be there for me? What do I think that means? So some people with this kind of signature become nurture. Well, this person has the nature of a nurturer, but also the reality of his or her needs not being met. Well, what did I choose? Did I make this a female person? Yeah, let's just say her, she, whatever. She's learned in many lifetimes that she can bring love, but she might not get it. There might be imbalances. There might be selfish people. Pluto moon, think about a negative expression of that walking up to you. People who are obsessed with their own pain, right? And she's like, can I get some support here? Can you support me? Can you witness what I'm going through? Because I'm really hurting. And other people are unavailable. Other people become unavailable. Other people maybe don't always have the depth to meet her where she is. Well, what does that do to a person? It may make a person shut down. It may make a person decide my needs don't matter, my feelings, it's easier not to have feelings, not to express feelings because nobody cares or it just gets me in trouble. And here's the other part of that, getting in trouble. When I tell the truth, other people may feel threatened. If I say to somebody, to a loved one, this thing is really difficult and this thing that happens in our relationship and it hurts me. Well, what if that person feels attacked? Think about scorpionic retribution or the stinger, right? Somebody feels hurt and lashes out. This person has received that in many lifetimes. What would that do to a person? It might make her not express her feelings to others later. So a lot of trust issues may stem from this kind of a signature. Another thing is family relationships, for sure, with moon there. It may literally be about mom, but maybe not, maybe just family in general. But that sense of being accepted and unconditionally loved. And from one angle, if we look at, we look at different things in the chart to see people in our lives, sometimes we can look at moon and say, what's going on with the mom? Well, this person may have had a mother who had been abused, Pluto and Scorpio in the 7th, or somebody who had been, abandoned. Pluto and Scorpio with moon can be a signature of being abandoned or feeling that way. Because think about the depth Pluto moon announces. What if people can't meet you? You might feel unseen, you might feel invisible, you might feel abandoned, or literally be abandoned. But one thing I can guarantee is that this person has a great deal of emotional intelligence. and this person feels very, very deeply, but may not feel supported by loved ones who may not understand that depth, who may, the person, this chart holder might say, gosh, um, it's too hard to trust. It's too hard to, let people see what I'm feeling. I don't think they care. I don't think it matters, whatever. Well, other people might take the opportunity to not ask more questions. Like, are you okay? And the person goes, yeah, sure. And the other person goes, great, because they don't want to deal with the complexity. Because this chart holder has deep, serious complexity of emotions. And this chart holder needs connection. Well, so this person might also, going deeper into the meaning of this and how it can play out, this person might vibrate a neediness. Will you help me? And I'm not being disrespectful. Are you my mommy? Are you my daddy? Will you help me? Like I need you. And whether or not that person's shut down or open and needy, there's a lot of stuff that other people may be drawn in to help this person see, like, I can't be there for you. You need to learn how to be there for you. And so let me just say the last thing here about this deeper layer of interpretation. This kind of signature can indicate this chart holder might be waiting for someone to validate her emotions or her needs, her personal experience. And the soul level mission is to learn to exchange with others, to give and take, to learn to listen to others, but also adequately represent herself in relationship and create boundaries, healthy boundaries, and assert who she is and overcome fears of rejection and abandonment. But those fears and those pains may be in the way of that emotional intelligence that's very strong. Okay, so that's a deeper layer of interpretation with a bunch of different corners and angles on this Pluto. So now let's go into a deeper interpretation of the South Node. So again, here it is. South Node in the 6th house in Libra. Quite often, people with the South Node in the 6th house have an unbelievable work ethic. Sometimes a can-do spirit. Sometimes they're really wonderful team players, but they might sacrifice for duty and to be approved of. They might sacrifice their individual desires. Think about being a teenager on a sports team or in college. I always think of like the crew team for some random reason with like 5 a.m. practices. You don't stay out drinking till 3 a.m. and then try to show up at 5 a.m. You might sacrifice some personal things or enjoyment in order to be a good team player, to be useful, to be helpful. This is the house of being of service, of course, and it's a house of health and monitoring specific processes and experimentation with daily routine and time management and all kinds of things that are set up, or daily setup, daily routine. But also it's about nutrition and health and monitoring what your body needs and how it responds to different things. So South Node in the 6th house people can be very aware of details and very attuned to what needs to be done because they're learning about what they're responsible for. The South Node in any person is always overemphasized. Think of a kid on a seesaw on a playground, one kid on one end of it, totally content to sit there, when normally we need to kind of balance with both ends of the nodal axis to learn to integrate both parts. We don't leave behind the South Node, but we try to add the North Node symbolism and come more into balance and frankly go back and forth in a holistic integrated way. So the South Node in the 6th, the person may assume she has to measure up or isn't good enough. She may assume there's always work to do. She may assume that she's going to be judged if she doesn't do things well. She may put pressure on herself to measure up and to be dutiful and be responsible. And in Libra, toward other people. This person may feel like she's failed other people sometimes and has to measure up or has to prove that she's worth being accepted. And this can be a real people pleaser kind of setup where I'm just, I have a joke where if somebody says they thank me for doing something for them and I say, oh sure, I'm just I want to go to heaven. Like, you're welcome. I'm just trying to go to heaven. Meaning, I don't really give a shit. I just want to go to heaven. So whatever. That's kind of my joke about being helpful to people sometimes in my personal life. But this person might really seek the approval of others and become better and better at being of service. They become better and better at anticipating other people's needs. Now, this is a family system indicator of contracts that create family. So these themes are in play in different ways in the lives of everybody in the family system and the chart holder. So it could be that some people are devoted to being of service. Some people could be healthcare workers, or some people could be very analytical but focused on helping people. There's a definite need to create balance, but probably some crummy boundaries at certain times. Like people not knowing when they should help, when they should have tough love, maybe not help, when they should encourage people to grow into their own strength and power. There could be caretaking with Libra in the sixth house kind of energy in the family. Also, like a lot of assumptions about what you need. You get sick and I give you soup, and you're like, I don't like soup, but I do that. You know, that's part of my thing. But a real strong emphasis on work ethic and duty and perceptions of responsibility and the need to measure up and be accepted, be deemed worthy. This is a huge thing here. And the power that other people can have, because it's Libra, I'm paying attention to how other people see me and if they approve of me. I'm not trying to say this person is like a Labrador retriever or like a golden retriever or something, but there can be that energy of people pleasing, such as with certain kinds of dogs. That's another one of my jokes. I'm not trying to be cruel to anybody, but like sometimes with my Librans, my stellium in Libra, have my chart related to Venus, seventh house Libra stuff. And sometimes I'll just say to my partner, just tell me I'm good. Just tell me you love me. Tell me I'm nice. Tell me you like me. And it's a joke. And I feel sometimes like a dog looking for approval. Anyway, so now let's go to deeper meaning of the Neptune retrograde and Capricorn square the nodes. Again, this unresolved issue about what we should believe in, what is worth believing in. As I mentioned earlier, maybe getting involved in a group that's a cult, maybe getting involved in something that we think of as legit religion or spiritual practice. All religions are kind of culty. I mean, it's part of the original definition. Like a group of people who adhere to a belief system would be a cult. We have a negative take on that, but any religious system, any political ideology, any worldview, the tendency to see things through rose-colored glasses and then disappointment later. This is one way this can come out. Truly believing in something and then finding out it's not true, or putting one's faith in something to connect you to divinity or spirit or God or goddess or whatever, and then finding out it's not real. Because the 12th house is where we encounter divine energy, where an angel visits us, our jaw drops, and we almost pee our pants. That's a 12th house. The actual resonant vibratory experience that can shock us, you know, like the prophet meeting the angel or God or whatever, Moses getting the tablets or whatever in the bush and flames or whatever. The 9th house is where we seek truth. And I have an idea of what I would like to be true. I'm pursuing that. That's the 9th house, the search for truth. All parts of life, whether it's philosophy, ideology, politics, belief systems, religious stuff, spiritual seeking, that's it. So Neptune, I may be deluded sometimes. I may have rose-colored glasses. I may see the best in something, and then Capricorn realism, realize I'm not realistic and I'm not responsible, or I haven't taken responsibility for what I believe. I'm just kind of going with the flow. Oh my gosh, look what my group is doing to people. So there can be a realism wake-up call that's very painful with this. What is worth believing in? What should I put my faith in? But again, remember, it's about the parts of life about seeking this. So the need with Neptune is to have a direct experience of the divine. And the way I talk about it in my work is that inner sense of resonant truth. What resonates as true for you. I spend a lot of time teaching my students in intuitive skills classes, higher self protocol, mediumship, to find that inner sense of resonance, because that's how one way we connect to the wisdom of our spirit guides and other helpful beings who are not embodied or incarnated. So how can I trust myself? How can I, there's a resonance there. That's a very Neptunian perspective. I have a very strong Neptunian signature. And so I teach people how to learn how to do that, how to trust that. So in this case, tripping over the shoelaces in some lives, this family system and then this individual chart holder may put their faith in things that aren't true and feel deluded, feel cheated, feel hoodwinked, the wool pulled over one's eyes. And that can lead to deep depression. That can lead to deep ennui and boredom and existential angst, pain from one's beliefs being dashed against, one's belief system being dashed against the rocks. And this could even be in the form of like being an avid supporter of a political figure who turns out to be a person who does terrible things. It could be putting your faith in, your whole life in the Catholic Church, and then the sex abuse scandal coming out. Like, I put my faith in this institution. This is my community. This is how I am spiritual. This is how I find the divine, etc. And then finding out a scandal, something painful, something destructive, which can make, the whole point of this can make a person lose faith. So part of this Neptune square the nodes retrograde in Capricorn is introducing realism into what I believe and why. What do I put my faith in? I'm going to talk about that in step number 4 in a minute. Okay, so that's another deeper layer of meaning with the nodes and the square of the nodes. So let's move on to a deeper interpretation of that South Node ruler over here with the Jupiter. Okay, so I said this person's born into a 6th house Libran type of environment. Duty, service to others, being there for others, anticipating others' needs, being of service, all that stuff. Well, this person shows up again. 1st house Aries is very bold and independent, maybe very angry too, maybe very reactive, maybe very athletic and sexual. Maybe this person shows up with an incredible first responder energy, is a very broad way of saying, a firefighter, a police officer, military kind of thing. But this person may show up with a desire to fight, right? Training in martial arts or scrapping in the alleyways. Either way, this person has had to defend herself in certain lifetimes. Now, again, taking risks with the Jupiter in the 12th, that person could have gut level intuition that says, yes, take this adventure, quit your job, travel halfway across the world, and climb this mountain. Well, that person may, with this Aries energy, be impetuous and hasty. What if this person doesn't train enough? What if this, right? So you can think about losing self-trust with this kind of signature, but it's also potentially such a strong level of self-trust that the person may not know how to take advice from others. And if we go back and think about for a moment this bit, do my needs matter? Nobody's listening. When you think about this South Node ruler in the 1st Aries conjunct the Aries Jupiter in the 12th, I'm a risk taker. I don't wait for the opinions of others because they're not there for me. Nobody's there for me. Nobody cares. Nobody's listening. I'm just spitting into the wind when I talk about my feelings and needs. You know what's left for me? Climbing that damn mountain. So this can be somebody who takes a bunch of intuitive, sudden, impetuous, hasty risks. But it's also possible the person has felt burned through being impetuous and tries to hide the adventurous spirit, which could lead to suppression of the adventurous part of the self, which can lead to anger and frustration and anger. So anyway, these are just some possibilities for how these energies can work. But the intuition is off the charts strong. Now, remember, if the person is prone toward being deluded or believing things I'd like to think are true, this Jupiter business in the 12th can actually sometimes steer the person wrong because I would like to think this is true. It kind of all comes back to, am I willing to trust? Can I trust? Can I understand if somebody can't hear me and help me with my emotions? It's not that I don't deserve love. Can I open to receive support? Can I ask for help? Can I be okay if I don't get that help sometimes? Or am I just rushing off, in some other direction, trying to distract myself from the loneliness and feeling unseen, unsupported, invalidated, unloved regarding my needs, my human self. So this could be an adventure junkie who doesn't stop long enough to let other people get close. This could be somebody who's so focused on the next adventure, the next vacation, or even making a life out of being adventurous in some way. So focused on the next goal, adventure, process, project, that the person doesn't stop to be human much, which can be very lonely, but the person may have um, rationalized that. Because again, what if nobody cares about what I'm feeling and thinking? What if nobody's there for me? What's left? Climb that mountain, jump out of that plane, get those kittens out of those trees, whatever. Okay. Now let's talk more about this. Whoops, that's not right. The square to the midheaven axis. So think about that. I'm intuitively guided to be on the go. Well, maybe I ignore family issues. Maybe I don't stop to cultivate my inner world, which is another IC or fourth house kind of thing. The midheaven says who I am known to be in the world or outside the home. It's the indicator of public face or space in the world one creates. We think of it as work and career, and that's certainly part of it. But it's who you are outside the home and how people see you from afar. Well, the IC at the bottom of the chart, beginning of the fourth house, is an indicator of who you really are on the inside when you're not doing things for other people, when you're not working, when you're not solving problems in your community or industry or through your work or career. So this balance, think about somebody who's so pushing forward into taking risks, that person might not cultivate any inner peace. It's a Cancer IC. That person might, in a bunch of lifetimes, avoid family connections because, again, right over here, what if nobody's listening to me? Do my needs matter? Do my feelings matter? My moon with Pluto says, I probably have people who can't there we go. Let's do that again. Who can't stop it and slow down enough to support me. And so I might as well dive into work or avoid family or something like that. So that's a deeper layer of this. That the Southwind ruler is square the IC, the beginning of the moon's house, and moon itself is conjunct Pluto, says to me this person needs to soften. This person needs to acknowledge her humanity and needs to become willing to be vulnerable. And if you think about letting people get close to you, letting them help you, letting them see where you are and what you need, and having honest communication, Pluto, moon in the seventh, about deeper realities, Scorpio. If you think about that, that could be very hard for this person who would like to, like I could imagine this person sitting with me in a counseling session, like an astrology reading or a guide reading or whatever, and the person might be hard to sit still and receive advice to slow down, to deal with her feelings, and to acknowledge that the fact that she feels pain doesn't mean she's weak. Think about the bias of Aries first house energy. Sometimes we have that warrior spirit and we don't know how to sit with our feelings sometimes when we're full of Mars energy. Right? Okay, good. So now let's go to the North Node with a deeper meaning here. Deeper layer of analysis here, again, conjunct Jupiter. The North Node, sorry. Yeah, let's do this. Yeah. The North Node in the 12th always says, well, my South Node's in the 6th, but that always says I'm challenged to learn that I can't control things. South Node in the 6th, my work ethic is off the charts. I'm capable. I'm a great team player. I'm analytical. I have a superheroine power of noticing what doesn't work and I know how to fix it. And I may feel responsible, right? North Node in the 12th says I can't control things, but I need to let that be okay. So here, Jupiter's here. How can I have faith that the way things are unfolding is okay? Which means, how can I accept that I can't control certain things that may result in loss or pain? And how can I let that be okay? So, what I recommend for 12th house living in general, I've said this before, if you watch a lot of my videos, you've seen it. Um, assume that what is in your highest good is what's happening. Assume that when you've been through difficult, painful experiences, it's not punishment, but you're being ushered into a learning space or a learning module. So your soul learns about another facet or layer of being human. Pain and difficulty and loss and things blowing up in your face or slipping through your fingers, that's part of life. You're not being punished because things have been hard or you've gone through loss, and you're not weak because you feel grief and sorrow. So, North Node of the 12th is in Aries. How can I have the courage to have faith in life even when life sucks? Especially when life sucks. And the Jupiter here, how can I reclaim faith in the process of life, the processes of life, not this delusion thing with this square of the nodes, with the Neptune retro square of the nodes, not that sense of like, well, I wish this other thing were true and it isn't, so I'm trying to deny it and not see reality, right? Negative, unhealthy Capricorn energy. Yeah, okay, good. So how could I claim faith? How could I figure out how to have faith that what serves my highest good, which may be painful half the time, and sometimes needs to be. Like we sometimes need to go through difficult things to become stronger. You have that, idea 10, 20, 30 years ago. In retrospect, you get it. Yeah, you know what, that thing that was really hard, it made me who I am today. And you can probably go through and name the lessons. How can you have faith when things are unfolding in front of you in a weird way, synchronistic way, where the universe is bringing you lessons and bringing you opportunities to learn to grow into more faith by surrendering to what serves your highest good, which again, half the time may be painful, may be difficult. So, how can you go with the flow and let it be okay? How can you have the courage to overcome self-judgment because you can't control everything? And this is a deeper layer of that meaning. So thank you for your time and energy. If you're interested in learning this style of analysis, it doesn't use everything in the chart, but I do deal with everything in the chart when I talk to clients. But this kind like it's very important that Sun in Taurus in the first is quincunx Saturn in the eighth. It's very important. And same with the Mercury Uranus quincunx and the Mars Chiron conjunction in the second and third. These things are important, but as far as like when people come in and they're hurting, I go to the depth of the multi-life journey and tell this kind of story. So you can get your own reading. It's called a Soul's Journey Multi-Life Overview. It's about an hour long, which goes into your personal four-step story with a deeper layer of meaning. And I suggest how to change karma and how to work with signatures. That's on the readings page on tdjacobs.com. You can also have a live convo with me, and you can also study this with me. Where you would start is the Evolutionary Astrology Fundamentals 1 and 2 home study courses. And then periodically, I offer the EA intermediate one, and I offer a certification program that's beginning. And the next one is beginning March 23rd, as I mentioned at the top. So you can see what I'm up to at tdjacobs.com. Thanks for your interest. I just realized I haven't done a lot of in-depth astrology videos like this. Like I've done topical things. I've done, periodically some forecasting stuff, but, talking about in-depth with Lilith and Chiron and Pluto and these archetypes. But this four-step story, I haven't really explained how I do it. And so I'll probably do more of these over the next few months, weeks and months. So anyway, take care of yourself, and thanks for playing.